Race day at Spa-Francorchamps. The cars in the Blancpain GT Sports Club main race making their way out on track. The sun is breaking through, and the grid, based on the results of yesterday's qualifying race, is a nice varied entry of cars with BMW, Ferrari, Lamborghini and Audi and Mercedes all represented, and this promises to be a very lively 40-minute race. Yesterday we had an accident on the first lap, which I'm afraid brought out a fairly lengthy safety car period 8 into the race, and also did enough damage to Daniel Vogt's Lamborghini to put him out for today. But Giuseppe Perezzini was a runaway winner, and he made history as well by being the first outright winner in the Blancpain GT Sports Club to come from the Iron Cup for the over 60s aged drivers, and he was unstoppable yesterday. Perezzini will start on pole position in his AF Corsa run Ferrari. David Addison trackside, as you look at the cars working their way round behind the course car, the BMW Z4. You see, we've got the two cars represented, one for the experienced Swiss driver Pierre Hirschi, the other for Oliver Baumann, the father of GT star Dominic Baumann. Porsche on the grid, Edward Browner there for Hebeth Motorsport with the 911 GT3. When this series began, it was really aimed not just at gentlemen racers, but also at people with the older machinery, and with it being uncompetitive elsewhere, it could come and have a race at home and be competitive within the Blancpain GT Sports Club. Well, inevitably, people want to win, so it's evolved into another category with the latest machinery. And you see the Huracans, you see the 488 Ferraris, you see the BMW M6s, as well as the 458 Ferraris, the Z4 BMWs, the Lamborghini Gallardos, for example. But what it does give is a really nice mix of car. Wins this year have gone the way of Daniele Perfetti at Misano. He's not in this championship this weekend. He's concentrating on the 24 Hours of Spa, the main race of the weekend here. Also, we've had a win at Silverstone in both the qualifying and the main race to the British driver John Minshaw. That was really a warm-up for the 3-hour British GT race that took place there later on in the season. And so John, having gained the mileage and also had to fend off the challenge of the Lamborghini in that brace of races of Cedric Lima, has now stood down from the series for the rest of the season. But Anthony Pons has had 3 race wins, and he's the championship leader in the ACA ASP run Mercedes. And then Pier Giuseppe Perezzini, I should say, added his name to the winners list yesterday with this dominant display in the qualifying race. A car that was damaged yesterday, the sole Audi on the grid. Somebody also making a debut in the series this weekend is the Belgian racer and model Angelique Detavernier, and her Audi was involved in this incident where really Christian Hook seemed to be going for a gap that wasn't quite wide enough for a Ferrari. He tagged the Audi, which then came across the road and tagged the Daniel Vogt Lamborghini. Coach McKenzie hit the brakes, lost it, spun in avoidance and did damage to his car. Steve Earle spun into the melee and somehow got away with it and carried on. The American driver got to the end of the race, and it was a remarkable save in many respects, because by rights his car should have been quite badly damaged, but he got away with it, and he finished in 12th place and was on the podium in the Iron Cup. So Steve Earle hoping for better fortune today, hoping to keep out of trouble as well. Cars working their way through the pit lane, because they are given the opportunity to have extra installation laps round to the grid if they so desire. And there we have, as you can see, the BMW Z4, the car of Oliver Baumann, the marshals and their friends. They're all good to go. Not just Belgian marshals, but quite a few international marshals come over for what is a wonderful event, the Spa 24 Hours. And if you're a motor racing fan, it's a real festival, because from the moment the track goes live on Thursday, then the circuit is barely still. You have qualifying and practice across the weekend for all the support categories, plus, for example, 2 Peugeot races, 3 Formula 3 races, these 2 Blancpain races, 2 Lamborghini races, and also, of course, 24 hours of GT action starting this afternoon. And then this evening, the concerts. Mel Gaynor of Simple Minds fame is one of those performing. Also somebody with a motor racing connection. He used to do a little bit of celebrity racing in One Make Championship days when they had guest cars. And the fans who have been camping for days on end now, enjoying the party atmosphere, stumbling out of bed, getting themselves a decent vantage point for this opening race of the day, for the main race in the Blancpain GT Sports Club. And a number of these drivers, such as Patrick van Glabeke, for example, who is on the second row of the grid, he will be doing the 24 Hours of Spa as well. Louis-Philippe Cernan with his Ferrari is another on double duty. We've also got the Sri Lankan driver, Delanfa Malagamur, in this race, who's been racing in the European Lamborghini Super Trofeo early in the season, but switching to the Blancpain GT Sports Club for the purposes of this weekend and enjoying his racing, and did a pretty good job yesterday. I mean, kept out of trouble, and Delantha Malagamua coming through to be 13th and to win the so-called extra class for the one-make championship cars, so not quite GT3 spec, but the one-make cars. And the Lamborghini runs in the monobrand extra cup because it's a little bit of a cut above, for example, a Ferrari Challenge car. There's Steve Earle. I was mentioning him earlier on, the American driver who has been a regular on the 24-hour grid in recent years, but this season concentrating on shorter races. But he did come to Zolder to do the Blancpain sprint round back in early June because he'd never raced at Zolder and he fancied having a go, and so he enjoyed himself greatly. The orthopedic spinal consultant then, driving in the Kessel Racing run Ferrari, slotting into position on the grid. He's got there nice and early, as everybody else now is on their way. Pole position to Pier Giuseppe Perezzini, the experienced Italian, and he showed that experience being put to good use yesterday. Pier Giuseppe, who's like the man alongside, in fact, Anthony Pons, raced at Le Mans in the past, and very well takes on stopping again in this race. He built up a margin of just under 4 seconds by the end of yesterday's 8 laps that we got in, a fair number of which were behind the safety car. So there, Christian Hook's Ferrari, who's also been seen on occasion in Blancpain sprint races. He powers out onto the circuit, makes the run now up towards the Les Combes section through the right, left, right at the top of the hill. Anthony Pons with the ACA ASP Mercedes, making his way now up towards the outside of the front row of the grid. The Mercedes, a great car for this series, the Mercedes AMG GT3, one of the newer cars. There is an example of the earlier SLS AMG GT3 on the grid, but this car is the very latest, having great success in GT racing. Indeed, it's the type of car that was fastest in 24-hour practice on Thursday night. But Anthony Pons, very experienced driver, didn't make a great start yesterday and had to battle his way up past Patrick van Glabeke, and eventually managed to take second place. But by that stage, Pier Giuseppe Perezzini was away and gone. So Mercedes on the outside of the front row, Ferrari on the inside, and the second row of the grid is going to be Ferrari and Lamborghini. There is Perezzini's car, the quick Italian driver running for the AF Corsa team that's got a fleet of cars in this and a huge fleet in the 24-hour race as well. The back of the grid starting to form up, including Coach McKenzie's rebuilt Lamborghini that had damage but got away, relatively speaking, pretty lightly compared to other cars involved in the incident yesterday. Number 6 there to the grid is the Boutsen Gignon car of Pierre Feligioni, Thierry Boutsen's team. And Pierre Feligioni, who's made his money in banking technology, heads towards the 9th row of the 11 rows of grid that we've got. One car missing, as I say, Daniel Vogt's car, damaged yesterday. Patrick van Glabeke has just arrived on the grid. As you look at Anthony Pons with the Mercedes, new set of Pirelli slicks, good to go. Pirelli for this weekend supplying everybody in the 24 hours, everybody in this, everybody in the Lamborghini Super Trofeo. It is a massive undertaking, and now the indication given to fire up engines to clear the grid, so the teams take their tyre trolleys and the slave batteries away, and very shortly, when the officials are happy, we'll get the indication for the pace car, the leading car, the Audi at the front, to set off. And we've got, Dewey, a gap where Cedric Lima, oh, there he is, just in the nick of time, is coming through to take up position. And also a bit late on parade is going to be Christian Hook, that is, in number 33 Ferrari. Thought for a moment we were going to have some non-starters, but they, by electing to do an extra installation lap, a bit late on parade onto the grid, but they've got there. So it should mean that we just have Daniel Vogt missing after all the damage done yesterday, and very shortly cars will be released then for the installation lap. The way that Perezzini went yesterday, he really is going to take some stopping in this race. He's got lots of experience, he's got a car ideally suited to Spa. At the very end of yesterday, when we had Super Pole for the 24 hours, it was a Ferrari 488 of James Collado that went the fastest in that session. So it's a car suited to the track, seemingly. And the way that Perezzini drove it yesterday belied his age. As I say, he's in the over 60s class, the Iron Cup. But as the green flag is waved by the assistant race director, Joel Doval, the cars are released onto the final opportunity to get some warmth into the Pirelli rubber. And then we will be in business for 40 minutes in this race, not a set number of laps. The flag goes out the first time the leader crosses the line once 40 minutes are up. Good to see that after the dramas of yesterday. Only one car has been lost. It's a great shame, Daniel Vocht's car with lots of frontal damage, and he was the innocent party in all of it, to be fair. I mean, cars came across the road and he just had nowhere to go at the last second, so great shame for him. The Spa-Francorchamps circuit is a wonderful bit of real estate. This the climb through Eau Rouge up Radion, and then the cars accelerate their way on towards Les Combes at the top of the hill. But this, if you've got the grunt up the hill and the run in the straight line, is a part of the circuit that lends itself to overtaking. We had some great slipstreaming yesterday across all the races that we had. And up towards Les Combes, if you're really brave, you can make a move on the inside. If it works, you're a hero. If it doesn't, there's the runoff area on the outside, but there could well be damage as well. Front row, Pierre-Giuseppe Perezzini and Anthony Pons. Second row, Patrick Van Glabeke and Cedric Lima. The third row, Karim Auger, another hugely experienced driver, and former historic racer Klaus-Dieter Frères, ahead of Marco Galassi and Christophe Ulrich, Ferraris both. Then you've got Christian Hook and Claude-Yves Gosselin. On the next row, the great Claude-Yves Gosselin, hugely experienced ex-Formula 3000 FIA GT racer. Pierre Hershey comes next in his BMW Z4 alongside Steve Earle. Behind them is the Sri Lankan Dilanka Malagamua with the Lamborghini. And then it is Edward Browner in the Porsche with Louis-Philippe Sernan's Ferrari and Olivier Baumann in the BMW next on the grid. Pierre Feligioni and Roberto Raineri come next, ahead of Alexis de Bernardi, who had mechanical dramas yesterday. The repaired Audi of Angelique de Tavernier, and at the back of the grid, Coach Mackenzie, the pseudonym Coach Mackenzie, the German driver, with the surviving HP Racing Lamborghini, because not only was his car involved in the accident, so was Daniel Vocht, but from the same team, it gave Harry Prochik's Merry Men overnight a big repair job, and they just could not get Vocht's car sorted out. So Coach Mackenzie gets into the race, Daniel Vocht does not. Great shame for him, but we are, as I say, ready to go racing here. Good mix of car, that's the other beauty of all of this. The Porsche standing out there as Edward Brauner comes down towards Pau. Steve Earle's Ferrari. A very competitive car within the Iron Cup in the hands of Steve Earle. Nice international entry as well. I mean, talked about the different shapes and sizes of car, and lots of nationalities represented. Saudi Arabia, Germany, France, Belgium, Germany, Liechtenstein for Daniel Vocht, but sadly he's not going to be on the grid. Sri Lanka, we've got Swiss, an Italian, and Luxembourg, and American drivers as well. So from far and wide they come, and Pierre-Giuseppe Perezzini in number 53 Ferrari now starts to slow the pace a little, ready to get everybody in the 2x2 Noah's Ark formation, ready for the rolling start. And Anthony Pons' lessons learnt from yesterday, not so quick out of the blocks. We'll want to address that coming into this second race, this main race of the weekend. And this is the one that matters really as far as the championship is concerned, because yesterday there were points only to the top 6 and on a reduced scale, 8 for a win, down to 1 for 6th. Today, it's 25 for a win, down to 10th place, where you get 1 point. So you can score within the top 10, not the top 6, and you can score a greater number of points. So this is the crucial race. This is the one they all need to do well in as far as championship points are concerned. Not everybody thinking about the championship, not everybody doing a full season, but those that are, like Pons, for example, like Lima, for example, like Van Glabeke, for example, want to get on with this and score well. Through Blanchimont they turn then, and slowly now make their way down towards the bus stop, the chicane. This incarnation, this iteration of it, put in 2007. And rather than it being a left-right and a straight and then a right-left, it's now this discernible chicane. It's a slow right, it's a left, and then you're back on the power up over the timing line. And in a moment, when the pace car as it is will peel into the pit lane, we should be good to go. And fingers crossed we can get through without the dramas that we had yesterday. Down to the braking area for the bus stop then comes Pierre-Giuseppe Perezzini. He comes up towards the timing line. Already, look, he's got a good car's length gap over Anthony Pons, who's fallen back, but now quickens his pace. They get towards the line. The lights go green. We're racing. Van Glabeke from the second row in the Ferrari pulls to the inside, and Cedric Lima forces his way up a gap, gets alongside the Ferrari. Pons on the outside of the leader. Perezzini leads into La Source. The next of the Ferraris dives wide. Klaus-Dieter Frères from the third row of the grid. Do they all safely wriggle their way around La Source? Yes, they do. Plunge downhill for the first time. Roberto Raineri was wide in the background. Alexis de Bernardi as well. Bit of damage on one car. Alexis de Bernardi tries to sort himself out in the Castle Ferrari, as it is then up front Pierre-Giuseppe Perezzini, Patrick Van Glabeke Another good start like yesterday to get himself ahead of Anthony Pons, and the top three already away and gone. In fourth place, looks like being Clausy to Frez, and down to sixth has dropped Cedric Lima. So he was making a good start and going for a gap, but it's not really worked out for him as they work their way now into Le Con for the first time. Lima in the Lambo up the inside, tries to gain a place, can't quite do it. Carimogé has fallen away a little bit from the start as well. A bit like yesterday, he was well placed on the grid and dropped back, keeping out of trouble over the first couple of corners. Down they come towards Bruxelles for the first time. Perezzini it is leading the way. Van Glabeke in second place. Anthony Pons third, just like yesterday. He's been mugged at the start, and so he's got to get on with the job and get past Van Glabeke before Perezzini escapes up the road. Through the so-called Speaker's Corner they come for the first time. Downhill, Ferrari, Mercedes, then a gap before the next Ferrari fight with Cedric Lima's Lamborghini sixth, flashing his lights rather cheekily to try and force a mistake there out of Marco Galassi ahead, and it works! Galassi goes around! Spinning at Prawn is the Ferrari. Marco Galassi with a big squeal of tires loses it. Thankfully no contact. He's going to be able to use that runoff area and get back onto the road, but Marco Galassi then with a big lose coming downhill for the first time gives a place to Cedric Lima. Through the piff-paff they come, and now the cars accelerate their way on towards the end of the lap. So Lima, having also in all of that, I think, hit the brakes and dropped back behind Carimogé. Let's have another look. Comes through. He was flashing his lights coming down the hill. There is Marco Galassi who spins, and Cedric Lima, yes, had to hit the brakes to avoid clobbering the Ferrari. So he gets past him, but then just out of shot, he lost 2 or 3 more spots because there, look, up and past has gone Carimogé amongst others. Lima, I think, fighting back. Yes, he's got himself up now past Christian Hook as the leaders come down towards the end of the opening lap of the race. And it is Pier Giuseppe Perezzini trying to make good his escape now as they break for the bus stop. Big crash there. That is Pierre Hershey, rather, into the back of Cedric Lima. Big impact. You could hear it crash into the rear of the Lamborghini, and out of nowhere, Pierre Hershey, either with a brake failure or a stuck throttle potentially, just ploughed into the back, coming into the braking zone, or the not braking zone for the bus stop. So that is a damaged car. It's going to be a yellow flag. And are we going to have a full course yellow to get that out of harm's way? We'll have a replay in a moment, I'm sure, as the 3 leaders go by. Perezzini ahead of Van Glabeke. That's how it all happened. So Hershey on the grass, bounces off the Claude Gosselin Lamborghini, and then straight into the back of Cedric Lima, who was the completely innocent party. Look at all the debris on the road. Wait for the impact. Bang! Hershey, having been squeezed onto the grass, had no real retardation, and so Lima braked for the corner, and Hershey, who is not inexperienced, just thundered into the back of him. So we've got a damaged car, we've got bits of bodywork on the road, and we've got a full course yellow. So they've all slowed right down. The race director calls for a full course yellow, slows the pace. That may now translate into a safety car, we will see, but certainly a full course yellow called, and that means that straight away everybody lifts their pace. It's able to neutralise the race and control the speed of the car far sooner. The danger sometimes is you call for a safety car, well, the front see it, and the back of the grid still carry on racing. They suddenly see slow cars, hit the brakes, and there's all sorts of potential mayhem. But a full course yellow neutralises it. Cedric Lima trudges away. Pierre Hershey goes back to have a look at what is left of the front of the Z4, but that was a big hit for both of them, and it really rather started with Pierre Hershey getting 2 wheels onto the grass on the outside of Claude Gosselin, and he hit him as well, and then was unable to slow down and ploughed into the back of a very angry Cedric Lima, who walks away from a damaged Lamborghini and a big repair bill as well. So Cedric Lima out of the race. Full course yellow conditions still apply, and Pier Giuseppe Perezzini it is who leads the way as the cars crawl their way now through the exit point. Here it is again, look, Pierre Hershey on the grass. There's the first contact. That launches him, and he just can't slow the car down, of course, and thunders into the back of the Lamborghini, smashes the left front corner of the BMW, breaks the rear suspension on the Lamborghini. Claude Gosselin, I think, got away pretty lightly with all of that because he was involved. Here it is from another angle. So the contact has been made, and then as the BMW thumps the back of the Lamborghini, sickening splat, bodywork and bits of debris all over the road. You can see it's going to take some sweeping, that, by the marshals. So we're going to be a couple of laps, I would have thought, under full course yellow, all eating into the 40 minutes. So Pier Giuseppe Perezzini from Patrick Van Glabeke was the top 2, still is, and then in 3rd place, Anthony Pons, who hadn't really got on with the job of being able to catch the 2 Ferraris. Now, we're still, as I say, under full course yellow rather than safety car. There is Cedric Lima. If I were Pierre Hershey, I would leave well alone for a little while. I don't think Cedric's hugely impressed by that. As I say, he was the innocent party. He was keeping out of trouble. He braked, he turned in, and out of nowhere, suddenly got this enormous whack in the back. How Pierre Hershey got to the grass, we didn't really see, whether he was being optimistic and getting past Claude-Yves Gosselin, or Claude-Yves Gosselin squeezed him across. We didn't really see the start of the manoeuvre. But the walk of shame, really, up the pit lane. Pierre Hershey, who's been a mainstay of this and of the AM Cup within the Blancpain GT Series in the Endurance Cup for a number of seasons now. His son, Jonathan Hershey, experienced GT racer and rally driver. And Pierre Hershey, sad to say, out of the race, former champion in the Gentleman Trophy in the Blancpain Endurance Series in its early days. So there, coming to the incident zone, is Pier Giuseppe Perezzini. Still, by the look of it, a few shards of bodywork on the track, actually. So although the first concern is to clear the car out of the way, I would anticipate men with brooms will have to be deployed as well pretty shortly. So the full course yellow should mean that all the gaps are maintained, although I would propose that those two Ferraris look a little bit closer to one another now. They come over the timing line. In third place, you've got Pons. In fourth place, it is Klaus-Dieter Frers. And in fifth spot, it is Christian Hook from Christoph Ulrich. The two Ferraris then, fifth and sixth places. Now, the car's being told to take a slow and tight line at La Source. Is that because you've got another car off on the outside of the road? Yes, we did have, and that's gone to a place of safety. Now, who is that we have lost? Is that Marco Galassi, possibly? Safety car now being deployed, so everybody having to bunch up behind the safety car. It says full course yellow on the graphic, but there it is, the safety car ready to bring everybody now into one line. And that gives the marshals greater time to work, because the queue of cars is one line, it goes past, and you've got the time to work on clearing up a problem, rather than having to have this constant stream of cars, admittedly at a slower pace. So as they head uphill, Pier Giuseppe Perezzini as the race leader, Patrick van Glebeker behind will be caught by Anthony Pons, Klaus-Dieter Frers, Christopher Hook and Christophe Ulrich. Karim Auger is 7th, Claude-Yves Gosselin is 8th, 9th is now the car of Edward Braun, and 10th is Steve Earle. One, I think, at La Source that was being retrieved was Alexis de Bernardi. In fairness, he had a mechanical problem yesterday and pitted, and it looks as though it's happened again. Yesterday, from memory, it was a kind of limp home problem, because he was really slow, couldn't pick up speed at the end of the safety car period. And it looks like the same thing has happened again on the opening lap away from the rolling start. So, having gone at a slow pace, that car seemingly, for some reason, won't pick up again. It won't accelerate away, and Alexis de Bernardi has parked it at La Source. So that's the other car that we've just seen a shot of, unrelated to the accident down at the bus stop. That was being dragged out of harm's way. So we've got the leaders working their way downhill, and there, yes, it is Alexis de Bernardi's very, very smart Ferrari. Just not very quick, that's been in strife this weekend in both races. That's going to be removed, and then the circuit should be clear once again. The incident between number 65, Alexis de Bernardi, and number 6, Pierre Feligioni, is under investigation. So maybe it was not mechanical, maybe it was contact between those two. But that's being investigated, whereas as yet the Gosselin-Hershey-Lima situation is not, but it might well be in due course. Angelique Desavenier in the Audi, good to have the Audi on the grid, different shape, against the Ferraris and the Lamborghinis, is soldiering on nicely today, keeping out of harm's way. 13th at the moment after some damage yesterday and didn't do a lap. Angelique Desavenier, who has done many a lap round here. She's been a mainstay of the 25-hour Fun Cup, raced in the Zolder 24 hours in the 24 hours in Dubai, and occasional outings then now in sprint races in VW and Maserati Trofeo. So a lot of mileage has been done by Angelique, and now we do indeed have the Hershey-Gosselin-Lima incident under investigation as well. So the safety car comes up towards Blanchimont, and in a moment will work its way towards the timing line. It's frustration for the drivers, because yesterday they lost a chunk of the race because of the neutralisation. It's happening again today, but there's nothing really that can be done when you've got bits of car on the road and damaged cars in an awkward place. Now here is the spin ahead of Cedric Lima, trying to avoid the rotating Ferrari, which was the number 60 Team Malucelli car, Marco Galassi. Galassi fell to 17th as a result of that, and there's that big hit as Pierre Hershey ploughed into the back of the Lamborghini and then clipped the wall as well as the steering was broken. Lima turns in and just huge hit that. I mean, you see how much force it gives the Lamborghini, just pushing it into the corner. And Cedric Lima walked away. Cedric's an experienced Lamborghini driver and successful too, but it's not been a good weekend for him, sad to say. So he avoided one incident with the Ferrari spinning ahead of him and then was drilled from behind by the BMW. Out of La Source goes Anthony Pons in the 72 Mercedes, so this safety car brings him onto the tail of everybody else, and hopefully on the restart he's going to be able to have a go back at the opposition. But he'd, just like yesterday, been a bit slow out of the blocks, dropped back behind Patrick van Glijbeke, and will be eager when we go racing once more to have another attack for second place here, thinking of points for the Blancpain GT Sports Club all the time. So down at the bus stop, the remains of the BMW being retrieved, and it shouldn't be too long therefore before we are good to go racing once more. Working their way up towards Les Cons. There is the Classes de Frères Christopher Hook Ferraris, and this is the run up towards Les Cons. Pierre Hershey's BMW, as I say, is the car now just being dragged out of harm's way down at the bus stop, so it shouldn't be too long. Now, here, have another look. Pierre Hershey will be in the background there, so he makes the move and was almost alongside Claude-Yves Gosselin, who kind of moved across on him and didn't give him a great deal of room. You'd seen from the other angle that they were side by side with Hershey on the grass, so he kept on coming, but having been on the grass and then clipping the Lamborghini as he landed, there was no chance to slow down, and he went into the back of Cedric Lima's car. So Claude-Yves Gosselin, if you recall, at Paul Ricard, having lost a lap, carried on at the same pace and rather affected a few lead battles because there weren't many blue flags for him, in fairness, but he wasn't getting out of the way of the cars that were a lap ahead of him. And unfortunately, he's been involved in an incident that's now under investigation here. So the stewards put down their cups of early morning coffee and have to start work with the video evidence and the onboard cameras that will be available to have a look at who did what to which and to whom. So Lima, Hershey, and then in a separate moment, Alexis de Bernardi all out of the race. Daniel Vogt, having never got into it, the survivors turn their way now down through the double gauche, the double left-hander at Podium. So the series that last year was won by Ferrari racer Michael Broniszewski, who's gone on to race in the Blancpain GT Series Endurance Cup full-time this year. Last year he was in just about every GT category going, but has decided to concentrate more on the Endurance Cup. He'll be in the 24 hours. He was the champion last year, and if you go back to 2015, it was Massimiliano, or Max Bianchi, who was the winner. Martin Lanting has been the Iron Cup winner for the last couple of seasons, but Martin has gone off to race in the Road to Le Mans category, the GT and Prototype Series that was, for example, a support race to the 24 hours at Le Mans this year for something different. But Martin Lanting, a dominant driver in his time within the Iron Cup. Shame he's not on the grid anymore. There you can see Pierre Feligioni from the rear of the grid. The team manager and driver of 65 Ferrari, Alexis de Bernardi, and 21 BMW, Pierre Hershey, to the stewards after the race. So Pierre Hershey, it is felt, has a case to answer. And Alexis de Bernardi, for whatever happened at La Source, we've not seen that, unfortunately, but it was Alexis de Bernardi and Pierre Feligioni in a separate incident that was being investigated, and so Alexis de Bernardi is also going to have to go and see the stewards. Pierre Hershey's car, I think, has taken quite a lot of a beating in that, because it's been a long time to try and remove it, hasn't it? And still the work continues. Now, it might be that with smashed suspension, it's just very difficult to drag onto the back of the flatbed, but it is taking a long time. And so the optimism I had about going racing shortly will be at least one more lap as the safety car comes through. And Anthony Pons there in the Mercedes, in third spot rather, second on the grid, third in the race. Patrick van Glijbeke is the man in second spot with a very attractively liveried Ferrari, the 488 GT3. Patrick, who is the man behind Curbstone Track Days. Now here's another look. So have a look at Pierre Hershey. He comes to the outside. There's definitely room. And Gosselin does move across. Perhaps he didn't see the BMW. He did sort of edge him towards the grass. But Pierre Hershey kept on coming. Maybe he was so committed he couldn't have backed out of it by that stage. But there was certainly more of a gap when he started the move than when he got to the braking area for the bus stop. So Pierre Hershey, I'm sure, will put his case to the stewards. But certainly on that shot makes it less clear-cut that it was Hershey's fault, I would suggest, because certainly the gap narrowed as they got to the braking zone. So this main race for the Blancpain GT Sports Club continues. All of these laps behind the safety car counting within the 40 minutes. And as soon as they can be released, we'll get back underway. There is Coach McKenzie. Just behind is the older Mercedes, the Mercedes SLS AMG GT3 in the hands of Roberto Raineri. Angelique Dethavenier has done pretty decent progress because she started 20th on the grid and is now 13th in the Audi. So Angelique getting on with the job in the early laps. Safety car stays out, waiting for the legend on the screen to tell us that it will come in at the end of this lap, but not yet. Not there yet. So it is Pier Giuseppe Perezzini, Ferrari Challenge GT racer. He's raced in the 24 Hours of Le Mans. If you think back to 2012, I think it was Pier Giuseppe Perezzini that was involved in the accident at the end of the Mulsanne Straight with Anthony Davidson, who had that big flip. But Pier Giuseppe Perezzini learnt from that, went away, raced in different categories, and enjoying himself like Anthony Pons, who's also done the 24 Hours racing at this level. And it's still a competitive series, as you can tell. So the experience of these drivers being put to good use. Karim Auger, somebody else with a wealth of experience from Formula Palmer Audi to the 24 Hours in the, as it was, Intercontinental Le Mans Cup era, European Le Mans Series, and more recently in Blancpain GT. So the safety car powers on through. Compare and contrast that with the full GT3 spec Audi R8 behind. This one looks like a very modest supercar in comparison. Put it in isolation, it's quite impressive, but against a fully blown race-prepared GT3 or even a GT4 car, the road-going equivalent always looks a little bit subdued. There is Pier Giuseppe Perezzini leading them through. We are not quite, but almost at half distance as well. We've had, what, now 3 laps behind the safety car, possibly more, and still Pierre Hershey's car needs retrieval. Now, the flatbed is there, but there must be so much damage to the suspension that it can't be moved, can't be lifted. And so now more marshals are coming to have a look and to see what can be done about it. But this is taking an inordinately long time, and it's certainly not for the want of activity on the part of the marshalling team. So it must be that the car is just so crippled it can't easily be moved. So there's a rope at the front of it. Over the timing line again comes the safety car. So Perezzini, Van Labeja, Pons, Freres, Huch, Ulrich, Auger, Gosselin, Braun, Earl, the top 10. Delanthe Malagamua in the Lamborghini, running in the extra cut for the one-make plus cars. The Sri Lankan driver, he runs in 11th. 12th is Louis-Philippe Sernan's green and white Ferrari. And finally, the BMW is being dragged out of the way. You can see the suspension is broken, the wheel doesn't turn on that front left corner, so it's not easy to move it, but finally we've got an answer, and it's getting out of harm's way now. In 13th place currently, it is the Angelique Dethavenier Audi. 14th is Olivier Baumann, Dominic Bauman's dad. 15th is Coach McKenzie. 16th is Roberto Raineri. 17th after his spin, Marco Galassi. 18th is Pierre Ferrigioni. So the grid accommodated 22, we started 21, 18 have survived the rigours of the first couple of laps and working their way again up towards Le Camp. Hopefully we are going to be able to go racing pretty shortly into part 2 of the race. There is Louis-Philippe Sernan turning his way through in the Ferrari, one of the many AF Corsa cars. Louis-Philippe, who races in the Dutch Supercar Challenge on occasion. He's raced in the now defunct Belgian Racing Car Championship that's morphed back into being Belcar again. The cars head downhill. Safety car in this lap, so we will go racing again at the end of this 6th lap. 19.5 minutes and counting, so it's going to be, what, about 18 perhaps when we get to the restart of the race. Turning their way down towards the Piff-Paff, or fan, through the right and left, and now Giuseppe Perezzini gets on his toes, ready to try and floor the throttle, steal a march over Patrick Van Glabeke on the restart. Anthony Pons will try and also get ahead of the Ferrari driver Van Glabeke, needing to go after the race leader, thinking about points within the championship. So now, message gets through that the safety car will be in this time. Perezzini drops back, ready to allow the safety car the opportunity to run towards the pit lane, and then he in turn can accelerate away, except the safety car thinks, where have you all gone? So it relaxes its pace to scoop them all up again, saying, no, you're not going to drop back that far this soon. So Giuseppe Perezzini sees the safety car ahead of him once again now, as the field remains bunched as it comes up towards Blancpain. One more lap of safety car, we are told. One more lap of safety car. So the signal was given that it would peel in, but maybe we're not quite there yet. No, because the BMW is still not back behind the wall. It won't turn very easily because the suspension and the steering are all damaged. So they need to get that car back through the little access point, and therefore one more lap behind the safety car is needed. So Giuseppe Perezzini had backed off. The safety car has slowed right down to scoop him up again, and Perezzini, I think, has lifted even further, not realising that we've got this extra lap, but hopefully that message is now getting through. Frustration for the marshals is that once the race is over, they've got to move that car again, get it back to the paddock somehow. Right, so we'll go round once more. There is Giuseppe Perezzini. The safety car carries on. Patrick Van Glabeke behind. And as they come now over the timing line up towards the completion of lap 6, we have done just under 22.5 minutes of the 40. Safety car will be in this lap. Here's one we prepared earlier. So Perezzini, Van Glabeke, Pons, Freres, Huch, Ulrich is the top 6. Mr. Lampa Malagamua in the Lamborghini. Coach McKenzie in the distinctive green Lamborghini Huracan. He was Lamborghini Gallardo mounted last year. We've still got the Gallardos. The Extenso RX is on the grid of Claudio Gosselin and Pierre Faligioni. And both of those cars to be found a little bit further down the order. There is Gosselin, and behind is Faligioni towards the rear of the grid. Lampa Malagamua working his way to Lecombe, sitting on the back there of Steve Earle's Ferrari. The Sri Lankan and the American, much travelled racers together in this. So we're not going to have too many racing laps in. Yesterday's fastest race lap, set, perhaps not surprisingly, by Karim Ogier. He was storming his way back into contention late in the race in the BMW M6. He did a 2:22, so divide the remaining, what are we going to have? Something like 14 minutes probably by that. Work out how many laps we're going to get, roughly. Down towards Bruxelles comes Louis-Philippe Cernan. Behind him is Angelique de Tavernier in the Audi. Now to Speaker's Corner they go. Why is it called Speaker's Corner? Because the original start and finish line opposite the endurance pits, commentary box at the top of the grandstand for the circuit commentators on the outside of the road. You could see the exit of La Source all the way down the hill, Eau Rouge and up again. And the only other part of the track you could see was that left-hander coming down the hill. It was the one other corner you could see from the speaker's room, the commentary box, and so it became known as Speaker's Corner, and the name has stuck. It's now been integrated into the circuit map in the programme this weekend, I noticed. So as the cars come down towards what some call Les Fagnes and others call the Piff-Paff, the right-left, safety car leads the field through, and then down towards Campus, the college on the inside of the road there. So there it is, gets the name Campus. The next corner renamed a few years ago in honour of the great Belgian racer and journalist Paul Frère. So it is the Courbe Paul Frère, and then the long run towards Blancpain, and in fact what is now on the circuit map just called the chicane rather than the bus stop, but the bus stop name remains. It was Gordon Spice, I think, that takes credit for calling it the bus stop unofficially, because when he used to race here in the European Touring Car Championship 24 hours and that part of the circuit was integrated, he was asked by the Autosport journalist Bob Constanduras covering the race what he thought of the new part of the circuit, and Gordon Spice said it's horrible, it's like a bus stop. and the name stuck. And over the years, it has gone through different iterations. Now it is, as I say, more of a chicane, and that's how it has been renamed on the track map for this weekend. So, finally, I think we're good to go, and it'll be at about the 14-minute mark as they come down towards the chicane, with Pier Giuseppe Perezzini, Patrick Van Glebaeke and Anthony Pons as the top three. Safety car will peel in, probably go and refuel, and Perezzini will be on his toes, ready for the restart as they come now up towards the timing line. Patrick Van Glebaeke trying to stay with the Italian drivers, so the Belgian number 488, Patrick Van Glebaeke, looking for a win on home ground. He's also getting himself ready for the 24 hours later on. We go racing again. Perezzini does lead the way. Van Glebaeke has a look up the inside and goes for the race lead, goes through, locks up, goes deep into the corner, runs out wide, loses the lead. Will he lose second? He loses it and he gets hit. Pons hits him, round goes the Ferrari, and Anthony Pons will be lucky to have escaped that without too much damage. There was nothing he could do with the Ferrari spinning across the road. You could almost see that coming, couldn't you? Van Glebaeke thundered up the inside, hit the brakes, ran out wide, accelerated, lost it. There's damage on the front of the Mercedes, and Patrick Van Glebaeke then, having been second all the time behind the safety car, as soon as we go racing again, loops it, clips the Mercedes, and so now Anthony Pons with damage comes under attack, because behind him now is Christopher Hook, who's got himself up past the Klaus-Dieter Freres Ferrari and tries to make a move up the inside. So Van Glebaeke has not yet got going, I don't think. He's still stuck at La Source as the cars work their way out of Le Combe. 13 minutes to go. And there, charging is the recovering Marco Galassi, looking for a way past Olivier Baumann as they drop down towards Bruxelles. Roberto Raineri at the back of the Mercedes. Van Glebaeke has got going, but badly delayed now after that spin. So Perezzini, laughing all the way down to Pouhon, leads the way and is building that gap. The team manager and driver of car 53, Perezzini, have to go to the race director after the race. So the race leader has to go and see the race director. Is that to do with how he was driving behind the safety car? Must be, I would have thought. So Perezzini will be investigated and spoken to after the race. Is it going to be a penalty? We will see. There is Van Glebaeke then back into the race, but he's about a third of a lap back away from the leader. Perezzini is away and gone. Pons there second, and so up into third place. It's coming good here for Christian Hook, because he was on the 5th row, and Christian Hook now getting himself up the order. He's absolutely flying, but so too is Anthony Pons. He needs to go after the race leader. Christian Hook then comes up towards the exit of Blanchimont. Carrie Mauger here looms over the Ferraris and into the long left-hander of Blanchimont, and as the cars accelerate towards now the bus stop, confirmation as what I was suggesting at the time, it is Perezzini having gone too slowly behind the safety car and dropping far too far behind it, that he will be investigated for post-race. So remember I said that he dropped a long way back and that the safety car had slowed down to retrieve him, as it were. Well, that's why he's going to be spoken to, Pier Giuseppe Perezzini. So he leads the way, and he leads by 3.8 seconds, but whether it's just going to be a smack wrist or whether there'll be a penalty, we'll find out post-race. On the road, Perezzini leads the way. Pons is second, and Christian Hook doing a great job now, running in third ahead of Klaus-Dieter Freres. 5th is Christophe Ulrich. Carrie Mauger is 7th. Claude-Yves Gosselin is 8th. 9th is Edward Braun. In 9th place is Steve Earle. Into the top 10 now is Donatha Malagamua. And all of this means that Patrick Van Glebaeke is in now 16th, recovering after his big spin at the restart of the race. Race leaders uphill. We're on lap 9, and although Pons was pushing a lap ago, now he's losing touch with Perezzini once again as Auger goes to the inside line, gets not quite up alongside Christophe Ulrich, but had a go. Doesn't pay out for him then as the cars work their way right, left, right through Les Combes. Carrie Mauger accelerates now downhill. He's going to be mindful that Claude-Yves Gosselin and also regular Porsche racer Edward Braun are catching behind, so Carrie Mauger a bit stuck here behind the Ferraris. Claude-Yves Gosselin with the Lamborghini Gallardo hunting him down. 10 minutes to go. The race leader is also now being warned about track limits at Blanchimont, as he was yesterday. So Pier Giuseppe Perezzini is getting a number of warnings for different things here. He's still up front then as the cars work their way to Pouhon out of that long left. The lead gap is now 3.8 seconds. Perezzini to Pons, and Christian Hook having his best showing of the season again. Auger to the inside line, looks for a way past Christophe Ulrich and can't do it, but Ulrich in turn is looking to get past Klaus-Dieter Freres. Perezzini leading the Iron Cup. Freres is second and Steve Earle third, like yesterday, same top three. We've not yet had Christian Hook on the podium in this year's championship, so this could be his best result of the year in third place. Can he do anything about the traffic ahead of him? No, he's falling back from Pons, but look at this battle pack here for 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th. Frères, Ulrich, Auger, Gosselin and Braun as they come out of the Cours Paul Frère through Blanchimont now. It's at this part of the circuit running wide that the leader is being chastised, and there is Perezzini ahead of Anthony Pons, who yet again can bank points, but he can't do anything in terms of pure pace about the leader. Here is Auger to the outside line. He's alongside Ulrich. Classy de Frères is ahead of him. Ulrich goes up the inside, almost clips Classy de Frères. Auger trying to get around the outside. Gosselin buys into it as well. And Edward Braun in the Porsche gets past the Lambo, levels with the BMW. Great opportunistic driving there by the Herbeth Motorsport driver. And in the Porsche, Edward Braun comes up alongside Karim Auger as they head in towards La Source. Can he go around the outside? No. Can he cut across and defend from Gosselin? Yes, he can, with Steve Earle next in the queue as they head downhill again. Excellent battles here. Look at the time that it's cost Auger, though, from attacking both of the Ferraris. Now he's dropped a long way back and he's defending. Really spectacular part of the circuit, that. Even the marshals have to move back, and they're brave standing there as the cars, like bullets, whistle past them, heading into the lift rather than braking zone for the bottom of the hill into Eau Rouge. Right, not only a warning about track limits for the leader, but a driving standards flag now for track limits for the race leader. There, up the inside goes Steve Earle, gains a place at the expense of Claude-Yves Gosselin. So Steve Earle moves through, and that puts him into 8th spot now as they come over the curb on the exit of Les Comtes. Dylan from Malagamur is next in the blue Lamborghini. Claude-Yves Gosselin in the older Gallardo tries to find a way past Earle, can't do it, goes all the way around the outside of Bruxelles, gets sideways, loses 1, loses 2 places. Malagamur and Cernan go past him, and then Detavernier will come up in the Audi to challenge Gosselin as well. Claude-Yves gets back in something like the right direction, but through Pouhon they come. There, number 3, Claus-Dieter de Frères, turns his way out of Pouhon with Ulrich behind, and Karim Auger, now that he's not having to defend anymore, has got on with the job and has caught back up and has a look to the inside line. He's going to go through, is he? Yes, a good move, that. Nice clean pass by Karim Auger through on the inside of Christoph Ulrich. And just like yesterday, just like we've seen in previous races, Paul Ricard, Silverstone, as the race wears on, Karim gets either more confident or faster or both, and so he might lose out at the start, but then he picks up places late in the race. It's just a shame that he does lose them at the start and he makes life hard for himself. But here, as we've seen so often as the race wears on, he's making good progress. Coming up towards Blanchimont once again, 7 minutes of the race to go. So Auger now up into 5th spot, and it could well be 4th before much longer. The BMW M6 is the only one that we've got on the grid, so there's no real comparison between the pace of it and anything else from the same stable. He makes a move to the outside line, down towards the bus stop. Can he go all the way around the outside? Yes, he can. Gets the job done under braking. Another good move. Great lap this by Karim Auger. 2 places gained, so he's ahead of Claus-Dieter de Frères. He's up into the top 4. Frères now with Ulrich up behind him. Then Edward Braun in the Porsche. So it's Perezzini from Pons. 3rd is Hook, 4th is Auger, who's got to make up 5 seconds. That I don't think he's going to do. How is Patrick van Glabeke getting on after his spin here a couple of laps back? Van Glabeke is up into 14th place, but kicking himself, no doubt, for making that mistake. Leaders have gone downhill. You're looking at the 4th place queue going down the hill now as well. 6 minutes on the clock still. So through they turn. And Pier Giuseppe Perezzini leading the way, but with these 2 Damocles indiscretions, really. One, the safety car process, the other being track limits. Angelique Detavernier powers uphill. Patrick van Glabeke at the back of this little group looking for a way past Marco Galassi. Van Glabeke to the inside, didn't really stay with him on pace there, so Van Glabeke had to slot back in behind Marco Galassi. Galassi equally looking for a way past the ultra-smart Audi, so Angelique Detavernier hangs onto the place, and the Come To You racing car down now towards Bruxelles they come, this being lap 11. Perezzini leading by 3.3 seconds. This little battle you're looking at is 12th, 13th and 14th here. Through they turn, down once more into Speaker's Corner, and then the run down the hill with the leading car still being Pier Giuseppe Perezzini's Ferrari. There, getting quicker and more confident all the time, Edward Braun. He's done lots of Porsche racing at club level, had a spell in the German Carrera Cup this year, but this is perhaps a happier home for him. And although he ran wide just there at Pouhon, he's 7th, not that far behind Christoph Ulrich, as Claude-Yves Gosselin tries to make up lost ground, attacking Dylan from Malagamur in the other Lamborghini, the Huracan, which is a Super Trofeo spec car ahead of the older Gallardo as they come now towards campus. Through through the right-hander short straight, and then right again at the Cours Paul Frere. 4.5 minutes on the clock, and others being warned about track limits now are Louis-Philippe Cernan and Marco Galassi, who had that spin, remember, early on in the race. So the leaders up towards the bus stop, and Karim Auger now has made up 5 seconds and gained the place in a lap on Christian Hook. Tremendous drive this by Karim Auger. He was 4.8 seconds adrift, and he's not only caught, he's passed, and he's about to get away from Christian Hook's Ferrari as they come over the line. So the BMW going great guns as there. Patrick Van Glabeke gets up the inside of Marco Galassi, but he couldn't find a way through. Hook fights back, but Karim Auger in the BMW hangs onto the place. And as you see so often with this car, as the race wears on, it gets quicker and quicker and quicker. He's not yet done the fastest lap of the race, unlike yesterday. That's still the domain of Pier Giuseppe Perezzini, but Auger going exceptionally well. 3rd he is now. In yesterday's race, Karim Auger was 5th, so he, despite dropping back at the start, has improved on yesterday's position, the finishing and therefore grid place for today. Edward Braun keeping at bay Steve Earle, who's now got Dylan from Malaga-Moore up behind him as these two cars accelerate their way to Les Combes. Malaga-Moore in the blue Lamborghini to the inside line. Can he outbrake Steve Earle? Yes, he can on the inside. Should he go through? Yes, gets the job done as they turn into Les Combes, but he's right on the back as well of the Herberth Porsche in the hands of Edward Braun there. Downhill they run, heading towards Bruxelles once more. Another car being warned about track limits is Steve Earle there in 1-1-1, and it's not specified at which corner, but the driving standards flag is being shown or being prepared to Steve Earle for disrespecting the track limits. It's a common problem, as you know, at modern-day Formula 1 circuits. You've got all of this extra run-off tarmac, so drivers push, use that. And of course, where you've got concrete walls or grass verges and gravel traps, you are perhaps less likely to push over that limit. Claude-Yves Gosselin back onto the tail of Steve Earle now. So Earle is in 10th, having lost out to Malaga-Moore. Gosselin looking for a way past him. Through the piff-paff they come, right and left. Edward Braun up the road ahead of them in the Porsche. Gosselin attacks on the inside. Can he go through? He's up the curb. Couldn't quite do it. Steve Earle keeps the Lamborghini at bay. Ferrari hangs onto the place then as they now accelerate again up towards Cours Paul Frere. We have got 2 more minutes to go, less than a lap time left in the race as the leader goes through. So Pier Giuseppe Perezzini starts his last lap now ahead of Anthony Pons in 2nd place. Karim Auger 3rd. Surely it's too much to ask him to catch the Mercedes. Yes, it's too far back to do that. He's not yet started his last lap, Karim, but it's been a great drive. There he is in the BMW, the top 2 then, long gone. And as they come through, he is 15 seconds adrift of the 2nd place driver. Van Glabeke makes another move against Galassi, goes through. Doesn't slow it down quite enough, runs wide. Galassi almost alongside him. He'll try and get the undercut here, but Van Glabeke elbows out, hangs onto the place as they come now onto the last lap. Down to La Source, goes Malaga-Moore, goes Earle, there Gosselin, Louis-Philippe Cernan is next, and behind him, Patrick Van Glabeke keeping at bay Marco Galassi. Or is he? Because again, Van Glabeke goes wide and Galassi in his red and white Ferrari up the inside. Angelique de Tavernier tries to buy into that as well. De Tavernier having fallen back now into 14th place, but it is going to be there Patrick Van Glabeke who hangs on to 12th spot as they come through Eau Rouge this time. Wide up the curb goes Galassi, accelerating his way now to Les Combes. So a lot's happened in this race. We've had incident, we've had great overtaking, we've had a dominant display just like yesterday by Pier Giuseppe Perezzini, but keep an eye to the Blancpain GT Sports Club website, because if there is anything post-race by way of a penalty, the news will be there to see what, if any, amended result we get. Pier Giuseppe Perezzini on his way post-race to see the race director, Anthony Pons, with damage. Whether that's done much to compromise his pace after the little touch with Van Glabeke on the restart remains to be seen. But again, he has been unable, just like yesterday, to really do anything about the pace of the flying Ferrari with Pier Giuseppe Perezzini at the wheel. And hopefully we'll see more of Pier Giuseppe in this championship, because it's been a mighty impressive effort. Track limits, the other element to the race where he's been under investigation. But it's going to be 2 from 2 for Pier Giuseppe Perezzini. He made history yesterday by being the first Iron Cup driver, in other words, an over 60 driver to win a race outright, and he's going to do it again. So, into and out of the chicane at the bus stop he will come. Checkered flag is at the ready, and it is going to be a second win of the weekend for Pier Giuseppe Perezzini, who comes across the line to score victory for the second time here at Spa-Francorchamps. Anthony Pons, just like yesterday, will be second. But Karim Auger is going to be the man who will take third place, and fourth might yet change as well, because here is Ulrich to the inside of Christian Hook, goes through, does he? Yes! Christoph Ulrich dive bombs him at the last corner, and Christian Hook, who at one point was running in a really comfortable third place, ends up in a distant fifth. Did he have a problem late in the race? Because the car has lost 2 spots in 2 laps, but in fairness, he was doing personal best laps on his penultimate lap anyway. So 4th Ulrich, 5th Hook, 6th Klaus-Dieter Frères, 7th Edward Braun, 8th Dilanfa Malagamoa, in 9th place Steve Earle, 10th Claude Gosselin, 11th Louis-Philippe Surnam, 12th Patrick Van Glebaker, 13th Margot Galassi, 14th Angelique de Tavernier, Coach McKenzie, 15th Olivier Bauern, 16th. And then in the background, we will await Pierre Feligioni's Lamborghini to round out the 17 survivors of the main race for the Blancpain GT Sports Club. Already back in the pit lane, having effectively done a U-turn at La Source and back up the pit road, is there Pier Giuseppe Perezzini. Race directors Alain Adam and Joël Doval await an audience with him after the podium. There is Anthony Pons' Mercedes arriving, the ECA ASP run car with its front damage. He was lucky not to have more damage, in fairness, in that clash with a spinning Patrick Van Glebaker. Third, Karim Auger, and also there Klaus-Dieter Frères, and we'll get Steve Earle, I think, as well as the third driver, Earle. Second, Frères in the Iron Cup, so the other over 60s. So crash helmet off. And Karim Auger, one of the drivers of the race, I think, there. Excellent performance by Karim, taking third spot. Admittedly, in the end, just under 16 seconds away from the second place driver, but he'd spent a lot of the race having to battle his way back up the order and do lots of overtaking, so it was a job well done to be on the podium. Pier Giuseppe Perezzini, a very happy man, I suspect, with a race win. So it is provisionally Pier Giuseppe Perezzini who wins the main race in the Blancpain GT Sports Club ahead of Anthony Pons and Karim Auger, good for the podium. Christoph Ulrich 4th ahead of Christian Hook, 5th, mugged at the end. Klaus-Dieter Frères takes 6th ahead of Edward Braun. Then it is Dilanfa Malagamoa in 8th place, 9th to Steve Earle, 10th is Claude Gosselin after his part in the early incident. He's being investigated for that, so he's ahead on the road of Louis-Philippe Surnam. Patrick Van Glebaker after a spin taking 12th place. Then it's the Team Malucelli Ferrari, the Marco Galassi after his spin. Angelique de Tavernier comes next. Coach McKenzie's repair work overnight giving him 15th from Olivier Baumann and Pierre Feligioni. The retirements, Roberto Raineri, Cedric Lima with damage, Pierre Hershey, Alexis de Bernardi with damage, and never starting, of course, Daniel Vogt after his damage in the qualifying race yesterday. So, he's done it again. Pier Giuseppe Perezzini makes it 2 from 2.
Congratulations. What a successful weekend that's been for you.
The second successful is, for me, the best. It's impossible to do better. Pole, faster, I win the first race and the second is perfect.
You're a very strong competitor.
Always the weekend, so, but it's impossible. Today is a particular weekend. I have a perfect car, but not always is so.
Perfect weekend. Congratulations.
Perfect so far, but as we know, he's got to go and see the race director. So Amato Ferrari's Merry Men can celebrate a win, but is it going to be one that Pier Giuseppe keeps? Will it just be a stern talking to from the race director, or will any penalty be applied? It would be a great shame if he were to lose the win, because he has been undoubtedly the benchmark driver over the course of the weekend. But Pier Giuseppe Perezzini will have to wait and see what transpires when he goes up to see the race officials. So a great result for the Italian driver, Anthony Pons and Karim Auger. Second and third, there is Anthony. Congratulates his rival and says well done to the AF Corsa team. And the SRO officials in a moment will, having given the drivers the regulation podium caps, get them up the stairs to the race control building, the podium at the front overlooking the exit of the bus stop. A quick look back at the best bits of what was a lively race, a busy grid, and away from the rolling start, it was the Ferrari of Pier Giuseppe Perezzini that blasted away into the lead of the race. That was the incident between Alexis de Bernardi and Pierre Feligioni at turn 1. with broken suspension putting De Bernardi out of the race, and Cedric Lima was lucky to avoid a spinning Marco Galassi as the cars turned their way through Pouhon on the opening lap. But worse was to come for Cedric Lima, as here Pierre Hershey was edged towards the grass. He bounced off Gosselin and then thundered into the back of Cedric Lima, and that put both cars out of the race and a lengthy safety car period while the broken BMW was retrieved. The Lamborghini with a broken right rear corner easily out of harm's way, but it took a long time to drag the remains of the Z4 BMW to a safer place. On the restart then, Patrick Van Glabeke powered away, looked for a way up alongside Perezzini on the outside, went to the inside, and Perezzini knew exactly what was going to come. He gave him the room, he took his braking point, Van Glabeke braked as late as he dared, ran wide, accelerated, looped it, was tagged by Anthony Pons' Mercedes, and Van Glabeke spun down the order, being in the end able to get back up into 12th spot. Christian Hook was going great guns though. He was third on the restart, but only in the last couple of laps did he start to lose out to Karim Ogier, who had the race of his life, powering his way through traffic. Ahead of him, the two Ferraris of Klaus-Dieter Frers and Christophe Ulrich were battling. He couldn't quite find a way past at the bus stop. What he did do though was manage to block Claude-Yves Gosselin, so that Edward Browner came up against him. But here, it was round the outside to get past the Ferrari that sealed it for 4th place for Karim Ogier. That put him ahead of Klaus-Dieter Frers, who'd already got past Christophe Ulrich with an easy pass at Lefagna, and then 4.8 seconds gobbled up in a lap and then easily through on the inside of Christian Hook's Rinaldi Racing Ferrari coming into the bus stop. That enough to give Karim Ogier 3rd place. Pier Giuseppe Perezzini, though, unstoppable. He's being investigated for his behaviour behind the safety car and for track limits, but on the road, 2 from 2 for Pier Giuseppe Perezzini. 2nd place going the way of Anthony Pons, Karim Ogier 3rd, and 4th changing at the last corner as Christophe Ulrich dive-bombed the Rinaldi Ferrari. Christian Hook dropping to 5th with Klaus-Dieter Frers in 6th place. Pier Giuseppe Perezzini then, a happy man as he celebrates a race win, and very shortly we'll have the drivers up onto the podium. The outright top 3, Pier Giuseppe Perezzini, Anthony Pons and Karim Ogier. The Iron Cup, Perezzini, Frers and Steve Earle. Same top 3 as we had yesterday in the Blancpain GT Sports Club. So the fans finding their vantage points on the banking, getting ready for what comes next, which will be the Peugeot 308 Cup 2nd race, and then in turn Formula 3 and Lamborghini as well on track before we get to the 24 hours. The trade mile is busy down at the bottom of the hill, and that's also the area that the concerts are going to be taking place this evening. It's not just a race anymore, the Spa 24 hours, it is a real festival of racing and a great weekend with everybody being catered for, motor racing fan or not. Right, the drivers are there. So Steve Earle congratulating Karim Ogier, down from Malagamur in the blue overalls, winner of the Extra Cup. Anthony Pons waves to the team. And so now the drivers call forward, and Karim Ogier it is, after a great drive for 3rd place. Karim Ogier to the podium. And the Bussen-Gignon BMW, the Belgian team, for 2nd place, the French driver Anthony Pons with the Mercedes, and Pier Giuseppe Perezzini takes the top step of the podium in the AF Corsa Ferrari after an excellent weekend for the Italian driver. And Malagamur joins them as the winner of the Extra Cup, the Sri Lankan driver, complete with flag, but it's an Italian, Pier Giuseppe Perezzini, who takes overall success. And so now the trophies will be presented. Hugo da Silva, who is Blancpain's event specialist, steps forward to present to Karim Ogier, then to Anthony Pons, and then to Pier Giuseppe Perezzini. Gets the winner's trophy. And there is also the Extra Cup trophy to a very happy Delantha Malagamur. Much travelled, huge enthusiast for his motor racing, Delantha. And he's raced in Europe, he's raced in Australasia, he's raced obviously in the Asian Championships, and although there aren't many other Sri Lankan racing drivers, Delantha Malagamur has done his bit for the country and put it on the motor racing map, and loves his season in European sports car racing. Now the champagne is sprayed, the overall top 3. Karim Auger makes a hasty retreat, but Pier Giuseppe Perezzini celebrates a second win of the weekend. And so now we will have the podium dressed ready for the Iron Cup. Pier Giuseppe Perezzini doesn't have to go very far because he will be back out again in a moment as the category winner. So the trophies will be ready, and Steve Earle is good to go for third place. Klaus-Dieter Frères behind him, and Pier Giuseppe Perezzini. Steve Earle, delighted with another podium, leaps out onto the podium. Applauds the Kessel Racing engineers that have prepared the car. For second place, Klaus-Dieter Frères steps forward in the Ferrari run by the Ortega Rennsport squad, and then the AF Corsa Ferrari driver, Pier Giuseppe Perezzini, once more for the top step. So the trophies will be presented to the third place driver, Steve Earle. Hugo de Silva being busy on behalf of Blancpain as Klaus-Dieter Frères receives his second place trophy, and it's another bit of silverware for Pier Giuseppe Perezzini. What a weekend. 2 outright wins, 2 class wins, of course, to go with it. And the 3 Ferrari drivers huddled together for the photographs. Another great advert for Blancpain GT Sports Club in terms of the racing. Lots of battling, and we've had some superb racing up and down the order, but also it shows that those drivers, like Michael Bronizeski last year, for example, and Pier Giuseppe Perezzini this weekend, if they've done well at a high level, if they've got lots of experience, plus a good team, good car and all that, are going to be in the pound seats. So, yes, it's for the AMs, the gentlemen racers, but there are still different levels of ability and experience, and that all does show when you put them together. But Pier Giuseppe Perezzini having a great weekend, and poor old Steve Earle, despite wearing his dark glasses, has had an eye full of champagne, and now, like Mr. Mole, sort of blinks his way off the podium. So, for many of the drivers in the sports club, their work is done, but we will have 1 or 2 in the 24 hours as the drivers here leave the podium. The Blancpain GT Sports Club from Spa-Francorchamps, won by Pier Giuseppe Perezzini. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.